fundamentals of study tech to more than 15,000, and the basics on how to shadow suppression to another 18,000, or 100,000 assists delivered to 100,000 people, while another 180,000 experienced the e-meter for the first time. So yes, this year our VM Crusade directly introduced to the tech more than 550,000 people. Before we look at what the next step is, let's not forget that the Volunteer Minister Crusade is the LRH undercut program for everywhere, the starting point on how we get every activity going into any area, because the Scientology handbook contains all the basics that apply to all aspects of life. So, considering we introduced more than 500,000 people to the tech just in the last year, the Volunteer Minister Cavalcade now becomes a permanent program in all our organizations. That means every org and our continental cavalcades that tour large cities year-round. Yet, we are now taking our crusade to the next level. We are going to open entire new continental zones and countries, because our next step is moving into new areas where no Scientology exists and start them with the first entry point, the VM Crusade. That's why this year's campaign is the Volunteer Minister International Goodwill Tour. While we continue all actions of the VM Crusade, we now add something new. Because beginning in January, we move into uncharted territories. We launch Volunteer Minister International Goodwill Tours operating from our continental liaison offices. They are entirely dedicated to opening new zones that do not yet have any organized activities. Here's how it works. Going to faraway lands, the International VM tent is a massive pavilion, 3,400 square feet in all, and set up as a full delivery center. It doesn't just visit the area, it remains in the same city for 1 full month, and it puts something there that will continue. When the tour team arrives, they get people in, train them on the full Volunteer Minister course, and then apprentice them, all of it right there in the tent, to make fully trained VMs. We then give them a kit that contains everything a VM needs to open a group, including their own VM tent. We get the new group started, put them on a direct line to the Volunteer Minister in Charge International, and then the tour moves on to the next country. And that's our 2004 IS-sponsored Volunteer Minister International Goodwill Tour. The Goodwill Tours go to pioneer lands. The Continental Cavalcades visits large cities in their continental zone, and the Org Cavalcades cover their own areas. And to drive people in on all of them, we provide them with dissemination materials, all based on what we know has worked. It includes all the promotion needed to announce the coming of the Cavalcade or the Goodwill Tour. We also launch an international campaign that addresses all current ruins, very much including the booklets from the Scientology handbook. So no matter the problem, they will get practical solutions to immediately change their life. And we tell them by placing billboards and ads everywhere, like this one, about handling children. Trial and error, not the best way to raise a child. Something can be done about it. By the Scientology handbook booklet, Children. And we have many others covering education, drugs, and all 19 chapters from the Scientology handbook. We place these ads first. Then we follow up with something else. And here's why. While our surveys this year show the same ruins and buttons as always: education, children, relationships, family, job security, there is another essential factor. It is the one factor that underlies all others, the one element that can defeat any chance of improvement. And we've learned this from the 500,000 people we individually serviced last year in our cavalcades. Almost all of them had one common denominator in their lives. They are PTS. Considering world conditions and all the merchants of chaos spread, we are in fact looking at a whole population that is PTS. And that is the take they need. So this year, we directly expose the antisocial personality. Here again, we have billboards and print ads, but now they look like this. Maybe you're not stressed. Maybe you're just suppressed by an antisocial personality. Find out. The ads then explain the 20% who are antisocial and direct them to our website to get the solutions. And we have others like this one. Maybe you're not insecure, maybe you're just suppressed. Or this one. Maybe you're not accident prone, maybe you're just suppressed. And when they log onto the VM website, we give them the cause of suppression booklet with the basics on spotting and handling suppressive persons. So this is our campaign to hit right at the core of what wrecks most people's lives and immediately place them at cause. Now, when it all comes together with the Continental Cavalcades and the Goodwill Tours, it works as one massive campaign that rolls out like this. With ads and billboards, we first tell them to read the Scientology and book booklets 3 months before a cavalcade comes into town. Then we promote the biggest button, the antisocial personality, 6 weeks before their arrival. And when the cavalcade arrives, people have read books and they are now ready. So we get them in, train them as VMs, and open new groups. And we follow the same pattern with the International Goodwill Tours, where we repeat it all over again, city after city, each time leaving new groups behind, opening new country after new country. And from Africa to Asia, and from North to South America, we expand into all continents on Earth, moving out across the planet to bring real help everywhere. And that's why, all combined, this is our new volunteer minister Universal Salvage Crusade. You are part of our Salvage Crusade, helping build a better world in the here and now, just as LRH described here. If one is going to find fault with something, it implies that he wishes to do something about it and would, if he could. If one doesn't like the crime, cruelty, injustice, and violence of this society, he can do something about it. He can be a volunteer minister and help civilize it. To LRH.